book called How Children Succeed, and right in the beginning, they talk about this new, I guess it's not new anymore, this theory of elementary education called tools of the mind. And one of the things that they do in tools of the mind is mature dramatic play, extended complex make-believe scenarios that the designers of tools of the mind believe naturally teach children how to follow rules and regulate impulses. So anyway, I looked this up because I'm like, that sounds slightly familiar, and guess what? This is indeed when children pretend to be someone and become so engrossed that they act and talk like the person, and it promotes self-regulation and executive functions development. Well, guess what? When I was a kid, that's what all of my friends did. We weren't like playing those stupid games like House, and we weren't like the cool kids like playing, I don't know, what did they even play? Football? No, instead we played games like World War III, World War II, World War I, Civil War, Revolutionary War. Sometimes we throw in vampires. In fact, there was one game of vampires that went for a very long time, and that was a very successful game. I still remember it. These sorts of games, we didn't know what to call them, so we just called them people games. But guess what? We were doing actual pedagogical stuff without even knowing it. Bam! Theater needs to be part of the curriculum. Required empathy, self-regulation. This is proof. I'm actually really happy that I watched the first episode of that Babies documentary, even though the documentary itself was super, disturbing and I couldn't ultimately finish watching it on Netflix. I did, however, watch the first episode, which was on the development of attachment and love with babies. And this book is kind of an old book, at least compared to that Netflix documentary. So I'm happy that I watched that first episode, because here it says that high-quality mothering, in other words, can act as a powerful buffer against the damage that adversity inflicts on a child's stress response system. And this is after studying children's cortisol levels after they're put into a stressful situation and seeing if the mother tends to them or not. So if you do experience stress as a child, it's not the end of the road for you if you have an attentive mother. But see, here's the thing. This book is a little bit old. The Netflix documentary is better. It's not just responsive mothers. That's what this study looked at, but it's actually responsive anybody. Anybody, whether they're your biological parents, whether they're grandparents, whether it's two dads, two moms, one mom, one dad, anyone can develop that attachment and have that same biological effect. Okay, so then on the next page, basically, of the same book, they're talking about how it was actually fairly recently, 1994, that parents started being super concerned about the cognitive development of their children. And the idea was that in the first 3 years of life, our children were not receiving enough cognitive stimulation. And that was because of the increasing number of single-parent families and working mothers. So they were arriving in kindergarten unready to learn. Well, guess what? I was born in 1992, so that means this idea and the culture was around when I was a kid. This would have impacted me, and I know that it did because my parents decided not to send me to preschool. And ooh, that was a big deal. They were like, oh my god, how would your Nana do anything? She hasn't gone to preschool, but we're in kindergarten. Well, guess what? I was just fine. So you know what? All of this stuff is just a way to make money. It launched an entire industry of brain building 0 to 3 years old products for worried parents. Billions of dollars worth of books and activity gyms and baby Einstein videos and DVDs were sold. It's all about the money. All about the money. There was this untapped market of oh, children need to be more cognitively stimulated. Let's sell stuff to parents because, of course, who's going to buy things? Parents, because they're worried about their children. It's all a money-making scheme. Don't fall for it.